Well, then we are going to get started. I've got 6 o'clock on my Mickey Mouse. So hello and welcome to our fourth synchronous Zoom here on February 26th. Thank you for being here. I had kind of scheduled or thought that I wanted, when I was thinking about this several days ago, wanted to do a show and tell and ask some of you who's very good work I have seen in discussion board posts in little pieces addressing CIIP, the Part A comprehensive needs assessment, or perhaps the Part C curriculum audit, would share some of your work. Well, my plans kind of changed today as I started to read your CIIP Part A's that have been submitted. Everybody submitted something, and Chanda, in your case, I know I've read it in my email if I haven't read it in Blackboard. Everybody submitted something on time, and that's really great. Some of you are still have works in progress, and I understand that. Some of you have had setbacks with meetings and getting data from people, and that's okay. You'll need to continue to work on those, and I appreciate that you've given me drafts to date. And here's Palermo and assessment methods so that you can understand the big picture for me. I have now opened and looked at everything that was submitted yesterday and today, the last 48 hours for CIIP Part A. And again, everybody submitted something. Did I make the terribly gender incorrect analogy about long skirts and short skirts and just right skirts? I think I did. Okay. I saw several skirts in there, and we can talk about some of them. Tina looks like a mini so far. Lisa Moore, that's just right. It's probably just about the right length. And I saw a maxi in there somewhere. Yeah, somebody's got a maxi skirt too. So nice work in progress submitted. Vera, that might turn into a maxi skirt. Anyway, everybody is on the right track. You're using good data. You're analyzing your data. I can give you individual feedback, but here's how I'm planning to do this, and maybe I can share my screen, and this will make some more sense too. Okay. Can you all see that screen? Please wave at me if you cannot. Okay. And Lisa LaMonica Moore, thank you very much for letting me look at your page in Gradebook. When I open your papers in Gradebook to read and give you feedback, over here, I'm going to open and use the rubric, okay? So I hope you can see that the full rubric is here in Blackboard. All of those descriptions of what's supposed to be in each different part. I'm going to read your paper with the rubric right alongside it. So I'm going to look and I'm going to mark it here if I feel like it's not proficient or proficient, or if you've not started this part yet, I'll just say it's not present yet. The grade that's going to go up here is 0. This is not a graded attempt. This is formative feedback for you. So I'm going to use the rubric and make sure that when you get your grade back, that you open this rubric and it'll collapse. And in other words, and if you don't open it up and look at it and read it, you may not get the full feedback from me. The other thing that I've noticed so far, some of you submitted these pieces as Word documents, and that's fine. Some submitted them as PDFs. See how this is a Word document, and I can download that then, and I will. It's my practice to download your drafts, mark them up. So I'm going to mark it and then reattach my marked up draft up here, so that again, when you get the submission back from me, and this will take me several days, it'll be through the weekend before I give everybody feedback on this stuff. it'll have feedback on the rubric. It'll have an attached copy. Now, if you sent me a PDF, I noticed that John's was a PDF. I don't know that anybody else was. I don't have Adobe, and I can't mark up your PDFs. If you resubmit those as Word documents, then I can edit it right in the document, and then you can work from those edits when it's coming back to you. So again, I don't necessarily want to call anybody out or praise inappropriately, but Lisa LaMonica Moore, this is a paper that is, I'm very proud of the work that I've seen so far, and Lisa's right on the right track. So if any of you are struggling, I'm appointing Lisa the line leader for Part A. Several of you, again, are on the right track. Renita, your draft is on the right track. Lisa Duffy, on the right track. You guys have this, and as the first major evidence in writing that I'm seeing from you, I see different styles, which is really good. John is writing his in first person, but everybody is doing graduate level work, and I appreciate that. So let me just stop here right now. That's my assessment process, how I'm going to grade and give you feedback on these things in Blackboard. Do you have questions about the process? I'm going to mute myself and shut up for just a minute. Talk to me about how you're feeling about the Part A, about getting it in, about the process, and what I can do to help you with feedback.
I have a question. I am struggling sometimes when I'm trying to figure out if something needs to go in my reference or if it needs to go in my appendix. You know, the way that I've been doing that is if I'm reading information and it's research, it's been going in my reference. If I'm using it as a tool, then but I had like a whole entire PowerPoint that came from my testing coordinator from the county, and I picked out pieces of information because it combined the NC report card and the EVOS data. Well, I didn't know if that's a reference or if that goes in the appendix.
You're going to have to use your judgment on some of this stuff, Lisa, okay. But the APA generally says if it's important to the story that you're telling, to the analysis or to the data that you're presenting, then include it in the text. And that might be a slide from the PowerPoint or 2 slides. At that point, you do need to include it in the text and cite it as a reference, as a resource. So you would include it in the text, cite it, and make sure it's in your reference list. Other times you might say, you know, this PowerPoint was provided to the staff for training. See Appendix X for the PowerPoint. You know, it depends whether it's critical to the message, to the story that you're telling right there. And I guess there's a lot of APA that is just, it's cited and referenced in the text, but it's attached as an appendix. I hope that answered the question, sort of, not.
I'll still debate back and forth before I put it in one or the other, but I think I'm okay.
Yeah, and you really just want to practice at that stuff so that come dissertation time, it's easy to say, oh, this goes in the appendix. So okay. It doesn't much matter in your CIIP Part A. It'll matter later in your dissertation.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. I see John and Tina have joined us. Thank you. I was praising both of you earlier, so you missed that, and you'll have to go back and watch the tape to see. But,
oh, wow.
John, I particularly like your first-person style in your CIIP Part A. I'm the principal, he starts off, and that's cool. And it used to be you weren't supposed to use you weren't supposed to use first person, but the new APA style is first person. So there you go.
I knew that.
let me go back and do some praising, and then I don't know what else you're going to want from me tonight. Let's see. All right, can y'all see that? No? Do you see that? Yes. This is Shonda's paper this is a draft, but again, it's her CIIP Part A. I'm not sure why I wanted to. It has lots of data, presented well, good analysis. In a big district like Wake, you're going to get lots of data, and you have to choose which of it you want to have. Oh, this is the one that I'm going to comment lovingly, Shonda, is a maxi skirt. It looks like it's going to be on the long side. So
not a wedding gown.
Take a minute, Shonda. I'm going to mute myself, but take a minute and talk about this draft and how it came about, and how you're choosing what to put in here, because you've got too much data.
Yeah, it's a lot of data in there, and some of it, some that I mentioned that I was going to use in there, we ended up not speaking about, and some things I'm going to end up taking out. But what we wanted to do is to try to get as holistic of a look at student learning, or the state of student learning in the district, as much as possible. So we wanted to look at it from a few different perspectives, because you're not going to get so much of a clear picture just from looking at ELG data and EVOS data, the data that just focuses on just how students perform on an individual test, how well they understand like concepts. So, we felt like it was important to make sure that we could tap into kind of some data on the other skills, like the critical thinking and writing skills. Like, it's so, when you say student learning is so, it's so broad when you're asking for that in that sense, and it's so many different point of views you can look at it. So we looked at it from teachers' point of view, with some feedback pertaining to student learning from the teacher survey only. We had a panorama family survey, where we just pulled one piece of one item of information there to speak about that, just to kind of give a parent perspective. And today, I don't have it in this paper, but today we did take a look at student survey data, because we felt like it was just as important to get feedback about how kids feel about their learning experiences. And they were only, out of that survey, we only pulled like maybe 6 or 7 items that we felt like would be very, very useful within this document. So just trying to get ourselves a very holistic view, like looking at all sides of student learning. And it was just easy. It was easy, of course, to get hands on the data, because number one, I had an MTSS coordinator on the team that is just data. She could just pull up. She was pulling up stuff today, just data. Oh, you could use this, and then someone that works for the Western area superintendent, and all they do is data. They just got through doing a FAM test, so they just have access to lots of data. And I also, Wake County has Quicker, and Renita will remember this from working in Wake County, and you'll remember it too, Palermo, Megan. But they have Quicker, where all the data you could ever want about any assessment that we give any kids, or any survey we give any teachers, you can go there and pull it up. All the data is there for you. And then also, Wake County has a form with Data Research and Accountability Office, where if you need data on anything, all you have to do is fill out the form, and anything, telling them what you're looking for, what you need, and fortunately, before that first meeting, I was able to get some data reports that weren't just out there for anyone to be able to look at. So they make it very easy for you to get access to this data. And I think we did kind of get data happy because we had so many pieces to look at. But what was great about it too, through the conversation, is we were able to kind of do some cross-referencing and seeing how well some of the data, like for example, that we might have looked at in one teacher survey, the Wake County one, how did that kind of align with what was being said about professional development, for example, or student learning, for example, in the TWC. So it just kind of helped to give us a deeper understanding of the different perspectives of curriculum within the district. That's why we ended up with so many different data pieces for student learning, but for professional learning, we only looked at 3 data pieces. And I can see for the other areas too, we were discussing that in our meeting today. I think it's either 1 or 2 data pieces we're going to look at for PLCs. That's all that we have available in the district for PLCs, and then just the curriculum guides themselves. So most of our data, we felt it was important to have for student learning, because all of those other pieces, at the end of the day, it kind of impacts that part. So it's important for us to learn as much as we could, about the student learning component of it, knowing that everything else should build upon the needs, student learning needs in the district.
True that. And thanks for that perspective. A lot of data, you're going to have to sift through it. The student learning data is critical. And if you have limited sources of data for PLCs or the curriculum audit, then that'll simplify the process later. But thank you for doing a comprehensive job on the comprehensive needs assessment. Good for you.
Thank you.
And again, thank you for sharing that. John and Tina, again, this is something I will repeat because it is important, I think. Everybody has submitted something to me to give you feedback on the CIIP Part A. And if it's a work in progress, then I'm still going to give you feedback on it, and you continue to complete those. The way I see things in the big picture of the semester here, if you have a draft submitted of that Part A, part of what we will do when we meet next weekend again in Thomasville, not this weekend, but 10 days, is work to make sure that those things are completed. For instance, I see a little bit of a gap between, I'd like to see some of you cite the research more. When it comes time for a recommendation of a particular reading program or doing more with reading in grades K through 3, then what's the research-based recommendation? So we'll spend a little bit of time talking about the research and what to cite. And to Lisa's question, where does it go to? Does it go, is this a reference? Is this an appendix? Does it go in the text? Or where does it go? So part of next weekend when we meet will be refining and adding to these Part A's and adding some things that I hope I can give you some feedback for things that we can add. We'll also do peer reviews of Part B. I'll tell you honestly, again, I was curious to see what your writing was going to look like, but these are brand new rubrics and brand new evidences, and exactly what the CIIP Part A should look like, you're defining. And again, I see a whole dress shop full of skirts here that I can choose from, and there are some really exemplary ones in there. So that's good, and thank you for getting that stuff in. So part of when we meet again will be to revise and improve on these documents, to do a peer review of Part B and give you some ideas about where to go with it. And then also to think more about the curriculum audit that's coming up in Part C. And I did want to give a shout out, whether I pull these discussion boards up or not. Go back and look at a discussion board post. I think it's from week 5, Ainsworth, on curriculum pacing guides. A shout out to Tina Alexander and Lisa Moore. Great responses there. And this is the kind of response that I was thinking about when I was creating the rubric for the curriculum audit, Part C. So your comments so far about pacing guides are right on. Now, I remember back in my day, and I can't get into the intranet in Wake County anymore, but in Wake County schools, there's an internet, www.cpss.net, that's open to the public, and an intranet, number 2, www2, that the staff. And it's at the staff intranet that the curriculum guides and the pacing guides and all of the teacher documents are located. Make sure that you understand for your district what pacing guides are located where, and do a little bit of a dive into that stuff. Something else that we'll do when we meet next week is I'm going to have you do a curriculum scavenger hunt and dive into those things and then discuss what you find. But spend a little time in your district's website if you have not been there anytime recently. In the bad old days, we had notebooks on the shelf with all of the curriculum guides in them. Mostly today, it's online. So, some districts, I know, if you're small and don't have the resources, when you click on the curriculum guides for your district, it's going to take you to the NC DPI, the DPI website, where the curriculum guides originate and live in the state of North Carolina. But other districts have more resources and have more and different pacing guides, curricular units, and things located up in there. So again, we'll do a bit of a scavenger hunt, but if you arrive next week having already put your foot in the water, then that'll be a good thing. So again, I want to say to Tina and to Lisa, thank you. And can we look at your discussion board posts on Ainsworth in order to look at curriculum pacing guides? Everybody should go there. Read what they wrote in the Ainsworth stuff if you haven't already. I do have one other one other piece of business that I want to throw out here. Jonathan Brooks, I'm going to put you on the spot, buddy. You got your mute button? You ready? So last week I asked y'all to tell a story about a conflict on a team, and I was reading those posts today and have responded to most of you. But if you haven't read John's story, read it. He showed up and there was no master schedule at his building. Well, you framed that as a conflict, John, but my response was teachers pushing back and saying they weren't going to accept a master schedule is mutiny, buddy. And you you squashed it. So I think that's exactly what you had to do as a principal, and thank you very much for that. But let's talk about a master schedule as an instructional tool. Our whole focus this semester is instructional leadership. Now, I'm curious to ask this. Did the teachers who pushed back and who did not want a master schedule have an argument that they were making that was a better way to deliver the curriculum for children?
No. It was an adult serving or teacher serving. So they didn't want the accountability and measures in place. And so, with those. Okay,
so you answered that question. Now, how does having a master schedule feed and support the curriculum and teaching and learning for students? Give us a list, because I think it's obvious, but tell us.
So what it did for us is it allowed us to streamline or be intentional about the resources we provide as far as instructional support. It allowed us to our push-in services as it relates to EC, ESL, AIG. We were able to, it wasn't so hodgepodge. We were able to get some consistency in that area. We were also able to go in when we do instructional walkthroughs, we can now have a walkthrough schedule in place because we know if we want to see kindergarten literacy instruction, it's happening between 9 and 10 a.m. If we want to see 5th grade math, it's happening between 1:30 and 2. And so we won't just show up on any given day not knowing what to expect. If we review your lesson plan or your unit plan and we know you're doing science, or we were able to tier our teachers. So some of our teachers are really strong in literacy, others aren't. So now we know a teacher needs additional support during science time. We can look at the master schedule. We can push in and support those students and that teacher during that time. Whereas before, they just taught when they wanted, whenever they wanted.
Here's the point I want to try to make. And John, I love what you're doing there, man. First of all, most of us would think, no master schedule, that's nuts, that's crazy. And John has given us really good reasons, instructional reasons, curriculum reasons, why having a schedule supports teaching and learning for children. Okay, but somebody could make an argument in a Montessori school, for instance, that we, the teachers, the instructional experts, need the flexibility in order to devote more time in the areas where the children are interested in and where they're passionate about their learning. So that if it's going to be a whole day of reading today and we don't get to math until tomorrow, that's not so important. Well, I can't, in a perfect world, you know, we might support that kind of curricular philosophy, but to try to be efficient and effective in large schools with large numbers of children is just not going to work without a schedule. So way to go, John. And I'm really glad you put your foot down.
Well, we did have a teacher say that exact thing, a group of them. So if you read the response, we did implement some time we call SOAR time. And so in that SOAR time, it's essentially flex time for them. So for that very reason. And so they have flex time daily, and it adds up weekly, where if you do have that argument, you can still, you can use your SOAR time or the flex time in the schedule to do just that. And
so you did meet them halfway. You did help resolve the conflict by meeting them halfway.
Right. So it wasn't about me winning. We just have to have a schedule in place. So, you know, I wasn't, but so they have flex time, and we do have, I have a teacher, he bought ukuleles for his entire class. So he likes to do some social emotional things during his SOAR time or flex time where they all play ukuleles and sing songs. I don't care. I just know when it's time for you to teach math, I need to see math. Yeah.
Way to go. And again, here's where a philosophy, I think I'm stealing it from Collins, I don't know. Figure out what you want to be tight about and where you can be loose. And I personally am tight on the curriculum. We're going to teach the curriculum. There's no varying from that. We're going to teach the curriculum, and I'm going to be loose about my instructional style. If you want to do cooperative learning and that works for you, great. If it doesn't so much and something else works for you with the kids, great. You know, loose on instructional methodology, tight on curriculum is my advice there. So again, you got to put structures and meetings and plans and agendas in place so that folks can be most effective in a large school with large numbers of kids. Okay. My goal tonight, my agenda was, again, to meet your needs on these evidences. And I thought that I was going to have more of you struggling to figure out what a CIIP Part A should look like. You're all doing really pretty well. Some of you, an excellent job, and some of you, you know, you're just kind of behind on time. And part 1, part 2, part 3 look good, and now you're going to wrap up part 4, and that's okay. Keep working. Deadlines are important. The IRS is not going to be happy if you miss April 15th, and I'm going to be unhappy if you don't have things in at the end of the semester. But get it done right now, and that'll be good for me. So, what question? Do you get it on these evidences? Do you know how to generate this kind of writing? Is it hard? Self-assess. You know, any kind of feedback that I need to hear from you about writing these evidences so far?
Well, I can speak for me. It is very hard because I don't speak the language as a guidance counselor. So I mean, I'm sort of being taught as I'm writing because I don't deal with this on a daily basis as a majority of my cohort do. So it's a little struggle for me, and my team is really good about helping and getting the material, but it's just putting it on paper.
Vera, I'll put you at the top of my read list for tomorrow. What I've read of your work so far looks good. So I understand the limitation when you don't have access to all of the data, but to do your best. I think what I've read so far looks good.
Well, thank you. I'm waiting on your feedback because I did go back today and tweak some stuff. So I've redone some stuff. So when you send it, probably half of it be done because I went back and looked at it and had a couple people look over it today and got some good feedback on it.
Do please get feedback from peers. Do share this document with other members of the team and ask them, is that what you remember? Does that sound right? It's called a member check. It's actually a reliability tool or process. And it's something that I wish you would remember again come dissertation time. When you're making up a pilot survey or a protocol, a list of questions, give it to somebody and say, does this sound right? It's called a member check.
So I have to say thank you to Tony and Tina because, I mean, if I need something and not sure, I'll just shoot them an email and they respond back instantly. So thank you guys.
Power of the cohort, Tony and Tina, thank you.
I think for me, just kind of wrapping my head around it, after you get like the first paper out of the way, then I think you're good. I think just second guessing myself a lot. But what I did notice is that I was able to pull a lot from my SPA, and that's because some of the weaknesses or the things that we're going to be talking about in this paper, as far as like PLCs, for example, that was something that I noted in my SPA to begin with. So it was good to be able to have those conversations again with my team about things that we had already noticed as a weakness, and that was one of them. So that made it a lot easier. But again, I think for me, just trying to I think I overthink what it was really asking me to do. So I'm a little eager to see your feedback as well.
And I promise I will work on them. It'll probably take me through the weekend,
That's fine.
but I'll have feedback for you this week. And yeah, I think you might be overthinking things too, Tina. That's okay.
Yeah.
Who else? Anyone feedback on evidences, thoughts, questions? What are you nervous about this week?
Your response?
Okay, then the best thing that I can do is shut up and start grading papers and give you feedback. No grades, no grades. Feedback. It's formative. Remember this, and again, practice this, please. Formative feedback until we know we have it in a piece that we're proud of and want to publish. And then I've got to get task streams set up for you, but the next step will be to submit these into task stream. And I think we'll probably be submitting them as 4 pieces and then combined as 1 piece. Is that the way you did it last semester? Yeah. Okay. Then I see some head nods. Then I'll set that up with Seth this week. And the next step after feedback from me will be to submit the final paper into task stream. So again, my goal for you, please, is no incompletes at the end of the semester. So let's keep up with this stuff as we go. You've made a good start on your CIIP Part A. We'll keep you rolling with Parts B and C in the next week or two. And the reflection Part D looks pretty easy to me, but we'll talk about that as well. That's all I have for this session. I do look forward to meeting with you. When is that? March 7th and 8th, back in Thomasville. And speak now or forever hold your peace.
Dr. Palermo, I have a question. And it may just be my device or my bad eyes, but on the videos for each week, I cannot make those full screen. It says that that's not an option. And so I don't know if that's something I need to tweak on my end, but it would help me to see if it could go bigger than the little screen that I see. I don't know if others are having that same issue.
And you can't see the whole screen. It's not just my little thumbnail picture.
Yeah, it's just a small screen of what your video is. I know for our other class, like if I click the full screen option, it takes it to the whole monitor size, whereas on yours I can't. And so it's just a pretty small box on the main page. I don't know if that's just a me issue.
Is anybody else experiencing that?
I think I got it small. You upload that in YouTube, right?
I do.
And so I think I got it larger one time by right clicking on it or something and opening it up in a different tab instead of trying to open it in Blackboard. And it should work. I think I got it to work for me one time.
Okay.
You can get
Just
it
try it out.
YouTube, then it will get larger. The only thing is that the smaller one, because it started first, that voice will continue to go. So you have two different voices going. So you have to close the first one out so you can just watch the YouTube video.
Okay.
Or that's what I had to do in order to listen just to the one video.
Okay. Thank you.
This is interesting because I don't get to see it from your end. So thank you for that. And that's the kind of stuff that, again, we can try to work out in our face-to-face in Thomasville. If you're still having trouble with it, Lisa, we'll figure it out.
All right. Thank you.
Last call. Ladies and gentlemen, you're busy administrators and teachers and counselors, and I appreciate you. I appreciate you taking time from your busy week to meet with me and also to work on these evidences. I'll try not to overburden you with discussion boards and stuff, but I enjoy reading what you've posted. And again, I look forward to seeing you next week. So have a great week and write to me if you need anything. That's all. See ya.
Yeah.